Although the subject is serious, this video has a little fun in the presentation. Please comment about how you feel about it. It began with the rise of darkness in the East, in the aftermath of a long and cruel war. The world is changed. A leader arose, gifted in oratory and filled with hate and cruelty. Oppression filled the lands of the East. The steel fires of the factories filled the skies with smoke, making the instruments of war. A mighty army was born. When the darkness threatened to spread to the lands beyond, a peacemaking leader from the western shores attempted to placate the evil leader with concessions of land and nations. But this only made the cruel leader bolder and greedier. Within a year, war came to the lands of the East. The peoples of the West and some from the East formed an alliance to stop the darkness from spreading to their lands and beyond. As the evil legions savagely marched across distant lands, spreading brutality and wanton destruction, one by one, some of the free lands fell to the power of the darkness. So, a bold new leader arose on the western shores, vowing to fight to the end. He lit the beacon of assistance, summoning a conference of the last nations untouched by the darkness.
Whatever the cost may be, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender.
Much that once was, is lost. Free warriors from faraway lands of the Commonwealth gathered at the behest of Lord Riverdale in a place called Ottawa. It was decided that the Allies would fight the enemy from the air and provide air warriors for this purpose. The Riverdale Agreement was signed by all at the conference, so, while the evil eye of the cruel leader watched for any threat from any direction, the peoples of the West trained and slowly built up the strength to attack the darkness in the East. The agreement called for the training of nearly 50,000 aircrew each year, for as long as necessary. 22,000 aircrew from Great Britain, 13,000 from Canada, 11,000 from Australia and 3,300 from New Zealand. Under the agreement, aircrews received elementary training in various Commonwealth countries before traveling to Canada for advanced courses. Training costs were to be divided between the 4 countries. Some pre-war regular RAF and RCAF squadrons also served under RAF operational control, while New Zealand and Rhodesian personnel were frequently assigned to RAF squadrons with the honorifics of New Zealand and Rhodesia in their names. However, in practice, and technically in contravention of Article 15, most personnel from other Commonwealth countries, while they were under RAF operational control, were assigned to British units. Under a similar parallel agreement, the Joint Air Training Scheme, South Africa trained 33,347 aircrew for the South African Air Force and other allied air forces. This number was exceeded only by Canada, which trained 131,500 personnel. Some pilot trainees even came from Hong Kong, India, and the Bahamas to train in Canada under the program. On April 29, 1940, the first Canadian training course officially began, with 221 recruits, at No. 1 Initial Training School RCAF, located initially at the Eglinton Hunt Club, Toronto. From this intake, 39 received their wings as aircrew on September 30, 1940. All of these graduates, however, were retained in Canada, as instructors, staff pilots or in similar flying assignments. Many from the Commonwealth lands remembered the pain and suffering of the earlier war and wanted to help free the oppressed people, not just of the Commonwealth, but of the entire continent. Article 15 of the agreement stipulated that graduates belonging to Dominion Air Forces, where they were assigned to service with the Royal Air Force, should be placed in new squadrons identified with the Royal Australian Air Force, the Royal Canadian Air Force and the Royal New Zealand Air Force. These units later became known as Article 15 squadrons. Articles 16 and 17 stipulated that the UK government would be wholly responsible for the pay and entitlements of graduates, once they were placed with RAF or Article 15 units. In November 1941, the first of the Commonwealth-trained pilots posted to Europe as a group was an aircrew of 37 Australian graduates, from the No. 2 Service Flying Training School in Uplands, Ottawa. During the Second World War, the Royal Canadian Air Force was a major contributor to the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan and was involved in operations in Great Britain, Europe, the North Atlantic, North Africa, Southern Asia, and with home defence. By the end of the war, the Canadians had the fourth largest air force amongst the Allies. These air warriors attacked the kingdoms of Middle Europe night and day, until one day, the darkness was no more. The evil ruler's cities were destroyed and his roads interdicted. The war that he started ended with death all around. These are the aircrew contributions of the Commonwealth nations. This only covers the Air Force, not the naval or army personnel contributions. The people of Middle Europe came out of their ruined dwellings to find that the dark clouds had lifted and the sun was shining. The cruel leader and his evil legions were ground into ashes and gone forever.